Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me in another webcast offered by Ascheri Academy team. I hope you are able to hear me well and see me well. Greta, can you please let me know if you can hear me and everything works well? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's start this short webcast today. Thank you everyone for joining again. The focus of this webcast is to keep continuity with the previous webcast we have been sharing previous weeks in terms of supporting our clients and our customers with providing some clarity and information with regards to the support packages that have been released from the British government in the last few weeks. So one of the key features of this support is the coronavirus job retention scheme, so hence the title of today's webcast. At Ascheri and Partners, we are committed to support our business, our clients and customers in providing as much information as possible. And we have lately received many requests for support in order to provide information on how is the furloughing going to work, who is eligible to be furloughed, what are the businesses that it applies to, and what is the process and all the steps necessary to be undertaken by the employers and the employees in order to be compliant with the government guidance. So first of all, one thing that I would like to say is that the term furloughing itself, it hasn't been really used within or recognized within the UK employment law. It has been used mainly in America, and it has been introduced from the British government during the coronavirus pandemic crisis in order to support businesses and employees, and in order to the claim of this scheme is to push employers not to make their employees redundant and try and keep the national unemployment rate as low as possible. So this is the main purpose of this support package. So today's short webcast, I would like to offer a few important information with regards to this scheme, and I would mainly focus on three topics. What is the calculation, how the calculation works, who is eligible for the scheme, and the process. So all of three of these topics we have to keep in mind, bear in mind that further guidance needs to be released from the government in order to, let's say, clarify some gray areas which are still outstanding in order for the employers to be able to respect and be compliant with the government guidelines. So we hope in the next few weeks we will receive more information and we will update you all. So first of all, how is the calculation going to work? We have to say that this is a scheme that is imagined to be as a reimbursement scheme. So it's the employer going to first anticipate and pay the salaries and then claim the amounts to the HMRC. The job retention scheme will cover the cost of wages backdated to the 1st of March. It will be running for 3 months, and most probably it will be extended. This has been stated on the HMRC website. So we hope that it will continue until the businesses will be able to pay their salaries. The maximum grant will be calculated per employee and is the lower of the 80% of the employee's regular wage and at a maximum of £2,500 per month. On top of this, so it is in addition, it has to be the associated employer's national insurance contributions on this amount and the minimum automatic enrollment employer pension contributions on that wage. So this has to be noted as important factor. Fees, commission, and bonuses should not be included as per the government's guidance. So we have to bear this in mind as well. So what is the salary on which the claim has to be based on? For employees on a regular salary, the employer should use 80% of employees' gross salary as of the 28th February 2020. For an employee who has been, for example, working for you for more than 12 months, but their salary varies month by month, you should be using, as a guidance, we think that you should be using the highest of either the same month's earnings from the previous year or average monthly earnings from the tax year 2019-2020. So either one or the other one. So it's your choice, basically. Instead, for an employee who has been employed for less than 12 months, claim 80% of their average monthly earnings since the day they have started to work for you. So these are the three scenarios that I wanted to bring at your attention. Now, what are the tax consequences on this grant, which is given from the government? The grant paid to the employer is included within the business taxable profits for income tax or corporation tax purposes. The gross salary and associated national insurance contribution and pension costs continue to be tax deductible as usual. Also, the employee is taxed on the salary paid by the employer as usual. So this is the practice, how it should be applied. So passing to the second point, the eligibility. So who is eligible and who is not, who is this scheme going to apply? The scheme, as stated on government's guidance, is going to apply to all UK-wide employers which have a PAYE system in place. This includes individuals, businesses, charities, public authorities, recruitment agencies, and so on. And it applies to employees who have been asked to stop working, but who are kept under the payroll, so they are still engaged in an employment contract with the employer, and they are described as furloughed workers. So, as an employer, you must have created or started a PAYE payroll system on or before the 28th February 2020. You are enrolled for a PAYE online, and also you have to have a UK bank account. So these are the three main important key factors that you have to satisfy in order to be eligible for this scheme as an employer. As an employee, you can be on any kind of contract. You can have you can be in a full-time contract, a part-time contract, an agency contract, or a flexible hour or 0-hour contract. So you can be in any kind of payroll, and it applies also at any foreign national can be furloughed as well. Important thing to say is that in order to be eligible for the scheme, you have to, as an employee, you cannot undertake any work on behalf of the company. This includes providing any services that, for example, generate commercial revenue, generating revenue. If you are an employee that have multiple employers, you can be furloughed by one or both of the employers, and each of them will be able to claim from HMRC up to £2,500 per month, and at a maximum of 80% of your regular wage. It is a gray area, the fact that we don't know, and the government hasn't clarified yet, if, for example, you decide to work during the furlough period for another employer, for example, and for example, you want to make up for the rest of 20% that your current employer is not going to cover up, it is not understandable if the employees are still allowed to do that or not. So we will wait for further guidance on this point. As an individual, you can furlough any employee. For example, if you have a nanny at home that it's under a payroll, as long as the nanny has been on a payroll and on the PAYE system before or on the 28th of February 2020. An important consideration needs to be given to the company directors. So as per our understanding, the company directors or the directors of their own personal service company can be furloughed. So once this the decision has been taken from, for example, the board of directors of the company, which director to be put on furlough, then this has to be communicated to the directors in writing, and this should be noted in the company records. So this is very important too. Also, as per the government guidance, the directors should not do any kind of work that they would carry normally in normal circumstances in order to generate any commercial revenue or provide services to or on behalf of their company. So this is an interesting point to bear in mind for a company director in order to comply with the government's guidance. Let's pass now on the third and last point of the scheme, which I want to bring at your attention, and it is the process and what are the order of actions an employer should take to comply with this scheme. So what are the actions that really need to be respected in order to comply and be granted the support from the government? So first of all, the online service through which claims will be made, it is not available yet. And yesterday, HMRC sent out a communication saying that most probably the online system will be up and running by the 20th of April. So this is a good news, and we really hope that this will be the case, and we will inform you as soon as possible. Employers will need to designate, first of all, affected employees as furloughed workers and notify any change and agree to this with them. As an employer, you always should check the employee's contract of employment. For example, if there is any contractual right to lay employees off if there is a downtime in work. If not, you will have to discuss the furloughing agreement with your employees and do any amendment of contracts of employment. For example, it will be necessary for sure that you should amend contracts in the case of the decision that the employer is not going to cover the rest of 20% of the regular wages of any of the employees. Employees will still have the same rights at work, including statutory sick pay, maternity, parental rights, rights against any unfair dismissal, redundancy payment, and so on. Employers should notify employees in writing and explain why this decision has been taken, why is it necessary, and this is, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic emergency. So it has to be explained what is the scheme and how it works and why are you taking these decisions. Then after, the employers need to submit information to HMRC about those employees who has been designated as furloughed, and their earnings via the new online portal once it's up and running. Once the employer has submitted the claim, because it is the employer is the claimant and not HMRC, the employer will be expected to be paid within 4 to 6 working days. This was stated yesterday on a official declaration from the Chief Executive Officer of HMRC, Jim Hara. I hope this is how we pronounce his name. The following information will be needed once the employer starts the process of the claim. ePayYE reference number, the number of employees that are going to be furloughed, the claim period, so the start and end date, the amount of the claim. We have to precise here that the minimum period for which the employees are going to be furloughed within the scheme is 3 weeks. And also, the guidance from the government says that the employers can furlough multiple times the same employee, meaning, for example, you need a certain employee to work for you for 3 weeks, and then you don't need his services because of business needs for further 3 weeks. You can furlough him and then bring him back to work. So it is very flexible, which is really good for the employee and employer itself. And in addition, you have to provide a relevant bank account number with the sort code and the claimant's contact number and phone number and contact name. These are the main things that the employer needs to provide. A very important thing for the employer to bear in mind during the whole process is that for at least 5 years, HMRC recommends that the employer should keep all written records of the agreements and discussions about the furloughing in case of any audit during the next 5 years. Clearly, since the employer will have submitted all the information, the payroll, through the real-time information system, HMRC will use this to make the necessary checks. One important thing that I would like to say before concluding this webcast is 3 things for the employers important to take out of this webcast is: one is ensure that you document your discussions and your decisions which employees are going to be furloughed and for how long. Consider if putting employees on furlough leave is absolutely necessary and it is reasonable to do in these circumstances. And please make sure you take records of all the discussions. And finally, ensure that you notify employees being designated as furloughed in writing, giving your reasons, making clear any terms and conditions that are going to change in their contract. This is very important. I really hope that I have been able to cover the main topics that concern most of businesses and employees in today's landscape. So I really hope I have covered them. In case I haven't, I will really show you our contact details again on my screen. I can show you my screen. I hope you can see it. You can write to us anytime on the email showing here and on the phone number, and one of our team from Ascheri Partners will be very happy to help you. So thank you so much for being here and listening. I hope you have a good weekend, long weekend ahead, and happy Easter everyone, and stay safe. Thank you so much.